Have you ever thought that there is something in common between circus and politics? I can think of one thing. Both Riga Circus and Latvian Parliament is built by the same architect, Jānis Friedrichs Baumanis. And that's the only thing. As many of you may know, a few weeks ago there were parliamentary elections held in Latvia. And the whole process was often referred to as circus, and the deputies-to-be were called clowns. Someone in my Facebook feed that I barely know even called it a contemporary circus. Seriously, how far do you have to think to add the word contemporary to such an irrelevant metaphor? I find it annoying. After spending 10 years in this field, in this beautiful community, I have learned that circus is the very opposite of politics. But circus has a very strong image in this society, and for many historical reasons, it has been used to describe the absurd, chaotic, ridiculous, and often even the unprofessional. For its vagabond nature and showing off what is not yet acceptable in society, as well as featuring sort of superhumans, circus has been considered as a danger for social order. In medieval times, for example, jugglers were accused of heresy, mistaken for magic. But we never look on what circus could actually give to society. So today I would like you to come with me inside of the circus and see that circus is actually a laboratory that has been exploring the ways how to better live in a community for hundreds and hundreds of years. So let me take you to a short history of circus. This year we're celebrating 250 years of circus. I would argue that circus goes much further than that. There was art of juggling in ancient Egypt, the acrobatic tradition of China, or the contortion in Mongolia, the tightwire artists in Korea. Those traditions go back thousands and thousands of years. And then, of course, the Roman circuses with the violent spectacles with humans and animals. And we couldn't imagine a medieval Europe without traveling jugglers, acrobats, and tightwire artists performing in European courts and in the fairs in the cities and the villages. In all those times, those were people living an alternative nomadic lifestyle, being the stranger wherever they were going, and showing the astonishing, surprising, and supernatural. But the art of living in a community was the core of their survival. And then, 250 years ago, in 1768, Philip Estley, a retired military man who was as well an owner of a horse riding school, proposed a new performance. In his already existing horse acrobatic spectacles, very popular at that time, he included some jugglers, acrobats, and clowns. Estley performed in a circular arena. He did it because for the riders it's easier to keep on the back on their mounts, thanks to the centrifugal force when the horses are galloping around. That's if you're still wondering why circus has round-shaped arena today. So this is considered to be the beginning of modern or so-called traditional circus. I would like to look at it as a new chapter in a circus history, the one with horses. Next one, the one with humans, also known as new or contemporary circus, started in France in 1970s. It was difficult times for modern or traditional circus in Western Europe. A lot of circuses went bankrupt. Petrol crisis caused it to be too expensive to travel with large groups of animals, and cinema, music hall, motorsports proposed a whole new range of divertisement for the audiences. So France, without having any ambition to revolution an art form, rather to save the craft, took some steps. First, in 1974, the first two European professional circus schools were established in France. It might seem like a minor fact. In my regard, That is the most important revolution in the circus history. For the first time, you didn't have to be born in a circus family. You could actually choose to go to circus school if you felt that circus could be your language of expression. And the second, not less important, happened just some years later in 1978. So in France, circus finally became the responsibility of the Ministry of Culture. For the matter of fact, it was the responsibility of Ministry of Agriculture till then. Yeah, this brought circus recognition as an art form, but more importantly, it took away the focus from the animals and it put it on the humans. And circus artists and technicians could finally access funding to actually have time for a rehearsal and creation period instead of repeating the same act night after night. This human circus has spread through the whole world. And even if circus today is aesthetically very different, the artists' lives have changed significantly. They don't inherit their craft, instead they choose to go to circus schools. They don't create acts anymore, they actually work in full-length performances, and their craft has moved away from being the center towards being an artistic language of expression. As well, they don't travel with caravans that much anymore. They mostly fly with planes. And instead of spending the whole year in the same circus and then looking for another one, they travel with their companies from one festival to another through the whole year. But some things have stayed the same. They're still living a marginal, vagabond life. Most of the time, they're far away from their home, living in a very international community. And they're still striving to surprise, astonish, while mastering their craft. Somehow, there's the same marginal freaks that were hundreds of years ago. And those freaks have found some cornerstones for successful community living. Circus celebrates diversity. It has always been a very international community and inclusive. We may blame circus for having sideshows and using people's differences to be shown off, but we shouldn't forget that what were called freaks in society for hundreds of years were called colleagues and artists in the circus. Circus gave home, job, and family for individuals society was afraid of. Circus will never ask you to be alike. Circus celebrates your differences, and your individuality is the common good. Let's take a look how circus performances are created today. There's usually no director. Each artist is an author and a performer, because no one else can tell him how to use his body to express his feelings. The first circus company I ever met and later on worked with was Collectif Malunais. And when they were on the first tour, one of their members, Vincent, who was a serial artist, had to go to a circus school. He was not replaced, because you cannot replace an artist. Lola and Nico joined the team. As you see, they're pair acrobats doing hand-to-hand. And they rewrote the performance together. They recreated the whole show. Because a circus performance, it's a collaboration between strong individuals. And in this collaboration, there's no space for competition. Even when we see two acrobats, they're not competing with each other. They're developing their own artistic language of expression. When we see two jugglers passing clubs to each other, or pair acrobats lifting and throwing each other in the air, what we're seeing is a high-level collaboration. I see it in a circus school with children every week. They see their place in the society and they learn how to help each other. Even if you don't strive to ride a unicycle, you have to help your friend to keep the balance. And he's gonna catch the balls you may throw. This collaboration in circus is possible because of trust. And why wouldn't you trust a circus artist? He never lies on the stage. If he comes there to do a somersault, he can't pretend doing that. He's just going to do it. But on a stage, the artists put their lives in each other's hands every day. And they have to care about each other on a very deep level and to actually take care of each other. This trust comes from communication. And circus has a very special way of communicating, the most natural one. It's physical. We spend a lot of time talking and writing, and most of the times misunderstanding each other. But circus teaches you to master your body in order to be able to express yourself, both for the audience and for your partners. When we as an audience, we sit in a performance, we can perfectly understand what the artist has to say, even when he doesn't speak a word in our language. But for the artist on the stage, a misunderstanding with his partner could cost him a life. When we see two pair acrobats, or even better, let's take an example of aerial trapeze duo. When the flyer is in the air, he doesn't have a time to call, "Catch me!" to the bass. The communication is in each movement, in each clap, in each look in the eye, or just the feel of a fingertip. It's physical. And we go to circus to look for this. We go to circus to be surprised, to be astonished. I would even go as far as to say that we actually go to circus to look if someone falls. Luckily, they don't do that so often. But in order to bring these emotions to us, circus has to innovate. It runs on innovation. And there is no innovation without risk. But what we could learn from the risk in the circus is its well-prepared risk in safe environment. When you see an artist doing dangerous tricks in the air, he has done it for hundreds of times in his training rooms with the heavy landing mats held by his best friends. But with all this risk, danger, hard work, when we go to circus, we're looking for joy. When we go to circus, the reality is twisted around. We see the artists enjoying themselves, and it sticks to us. They're sort of superhumans, but they don't take themselves too seriously. They keep playing around. Clowning, by the way, is one of the most difficult disciplines, and it's probably as difficult to get in one of the best clowning schools like Jacques Lecoq in Paris as to get in Oxford. It's not easy to keep the playfulness while mastering your craft, but it is essential. Why do children make friends so easily? They play together. And circus artists keep playing forever. For the audience, but mostly for their own community. So, doesn't this sound like a utopian community for you? This is why I work there. I wouldn't suggest that circus doesn't have its dark chapters. Sideshows, animal abuse, over-stereotyped images of genders and nationalities. As any laboratory, circus takes the ingredients that we have for it. And as marginal as it has been, it still has been mirroring the society's values and ethics. But it has always been one step forward, and it keeps pushing the borders, the ones of circus and the ones of society. So today I have just one favor to ask you. Next time you will use circus as a metaphor, please do it to describe a team of hard-working people with strong and diverse personalities, deep trust and respect between each other, who are striving together to bring joy to others. Thank you.